I do love a good audience. Y'all see me for who I really am. A star.
Okay, retro go. Let's go.
Hello and welcome. Welcome and hello. This is Wait, You Haven't Seen? It's a show where we talk about movies, and specifically we talk about a movie at least one of us has never seen before. I'm your host, Travis, aka TV's Travis. This is episode number 290. We're continuing the annual GORE podcast takeover, and this week we're watching, because I had not seen it before, 2022's Pearl. And joining me from the GORE podcast, the Wicked Kitten, always getting into mischief.
Hi, I'm Wicked, and Scarecrow rides will be 8 cents.
The endearing and the ethereal Faye.
Hi.
And lastly, well, it's the dread you've been feeling since you got on the Scarecrow ride. It's Dreadly.
Oh, yeah.
Well, hello, and I bring many, many, many 8 cents.
So 2022's Pearl, which came out the same year as the movie before it in its lineage, X. We watched X for an episode of GORE earlier this year. And I think I was the only one that hadn't seen it at that point, right? You had all seen it already? Okay. And I think universally we all really liked X.
Yep.
So then they decide that they're going to make a sequel, but the sequel is going to be a prequel telling the story of the old woman from X, Pearl. Now, you had all seen this before. Monica, what's your history with Pearl? When did you see it right away? Did you see it right after seeing X?
So, X came out and it had like this kind of like infamy to it.
Mhm.
So I had to watch it. So I watched it with a group of friends and I loved it. And some of them liked it, if you're listening, Bombi, and some of them didn't. But I really loved it, and then found out that there was going to be this sequel or prequel. I don't think we knew exactly at the time.
Okay.
And I was like, immediately, I'm like, I have to see that as soon as it comes out. So then as soon as I could watch Pearl, I did.
Excellent. Dread, how about you?
Well, as soon as Monica made me watch it, I also watched Pearl.
Yeah.
So you did not like X at first?
I didn't hate it. I also didn't love it. I was in the middle.
Okay.
I think I expected a different movie when I watched it.
I'll explain what the real issue
But-
was for the people who didn't like it.
The snake.
No.
The old people snakes. But
Some
the snake.
people don't like the older people doing it thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we fear age.
But I for the just for the record, I did appreciate X more when we rewatched it for GORE. And
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not gonna say it what I think about Pearl.
Sure. Faye, how about you?
I watched both X and Pearl back to back when Wicked started talking about it
Okay.
last year.
So I'm the precipice. No, not the precipice. The catalyst.
Yep.
So it was not a movie that you were really clamoring to see initially then.
I never heard about it
Oh, okay.
until she talked about it. And then I went, oh, okay. And then when I was able to check them out, I checked them out and was very excited for Maxine.
Yep, which is the third in this trilogy, following the character of Maxine from X after the events of that movie. We'll probably talk about that a little bit as we go, because I do believe we have all seen that one as well now, because I did see Maxine in the theater.
So did I.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I saw Maxine before, obviously watching Pearl, but that doesn't, I don't think, hamper anything because they're loosely tied together. But I will say this: I had quite a good time with Pearl, watching it, prepping for this show, and I do have a lot of thoughts on why I think this one worked, and some interesting things about it. But I kind of want to know first, from each of you, because we have seen all three of them now, is where would you put Pearl amongst the three, if you were forced to rank them? Ranking is, very subjective, but like, where do they fall in order for you, starting with Dread?
Number one. This
Yeah.
is my favorite of the three.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot what he asked. I thought he was having you put them in order, and then you're just like number
You just
one,
asked
and I'm like,
Pearl?
Yeah,
What-
I
what
just
are we
asked
doing?
where Pearl falls.
Yeah, okay, I missed that.
Which, and if you want to rank all three, go for it. If you want to put them in your preferred order. But Dread, you like this one the most out of the three, huh?
Yes. The first time I watched it, I liked it, and now rewatching it, still confirmed it's the best one for me.
Okay. All right. Faye?
I mean, Pearl is the middle for me, in between them. Maxine's number one.
Okay. Okay. Monica, how about you?
I've been thinking about this because I had a feeling somebody would ask me this at some point in my
Sure.
life, and when I watched X, I thought it was the best, even though there was nothing yet, so that doesn't make any sense. And then when I watched Pearl, I was like, oh my god, Pearl is even better than X, but they're both really good.
Mhm.
And then I think I watched Maxine, or I think I rewatched X. I rewatched X first, and then I was like, oh crap, I really like X. And then
Mhm.
I watched Maxine, and I'm like, oh, I really like Maxine. You get where this is going, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love them all.
It just depends on which
Yeah.
one you've watched most recently.
Exactly. This is the thing. Every time I rewatch one, I'm like, oh no, this is my favorite. So right now, at this moment, but Maxine was so good. This is hard. I'm gonna, yeah.
So
Can I
you're,
take the physical challenge?
for me, I think of the three of them, I think this is the best one. Personally, I liked what they were doing here, the character work in it. I think part of that is that Mia Goth co-wrote it. Her and Ty West started working on this script as they were doing character background stuff for her being Pearl in X, and then they started writing this script for this story. And there's something about the voice of Pearl in this as a character that I think just works a little bit better. And that's not to say, like, I really, really enjoyed X. I liked Maxine. I think for me, Maxine is the weakest of the three. And that's, I mean, it's like a 1 and 1A and 1B. Like, they're all very, very good. I just think there's something with the story of Pearl and the way that whole thing unravels that is really intriguing. And I think there's a lot of really good input from Mia Goth in that character. That I think is
Yeah, it's a better
missing.
character study for certain.
Yeah. And the performance, holy crap, the performances in this. Good
Yeah.
Lord.
Mhm.
And again, we talk about this a lot when you have a small movie, and a lot of horror movies end up being very small, right? They're not a huge cast of characters. It's not an action flick, so there's not a ton of set pieces. You basically have a small group of characters and then whatever visuals you're going for in your type of horror. And a small cast, you've got to have some powerhouses to carry that. And they had it here. Starting with Mia Goth. Holy crap, is she good as Pearl?
Have I not been talking her up for like
I mean, you
years
have.
now since I saw X? I
Yes.
kept telling you, I'm like, you're gonna love it. And this is the one, when I saw Pearl, I was like, Travis is going to appreciate this movie so much. Like
yeah.
I knew there were things about it that you were going to really appreciate.
And I'm going to save my thoughts for the monologue and the end of the movie for a little bit
Like she
because
did?
yeah, without even getting to that, take all of that out. And this is a stellar 5-star performance from Mia Goth. She is so good throughout this entire movie. And it's just crazy how unhinged she gets, but holding it together. And there's all these nice little nuggets of like how far she's already gone around the bend early on in the movie. Yeah, she's just fantastic. On top of, obviously, like I said, co-writing it and producing. This was her first producer's credit as well. So really being involved in like all aspects of making this one. And she's just fantastic all the way through. And in a different way from the character of Maxine that she was in X and Maxine. Like it's a similar character, but not the same. And I really liked that because it's a different kind of way out there. So yeah, she just killed it, and you're absolutely 100% right in that prediction. You nailed that because she just captivating every time, and she's in all of it. Like there isn't
Yeah.
really any scenes without her.
Yeah. I think that the one thing I will say is that this one has the most of what makes her something so special, Mia Goth. Because like there's a couple of scenes in X that have it, and there's like a handful of scenes in Maxine that have it, but this movie is just like all that, and it's just so
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
incredible.
And the switch flip,
Mhm.
which is nice and sweet, and you're done.
And you watch it, you can see it happen. And like a few of my notes were just like, well, and now he's going to die. Oh, this person is now done. Like, and we all know that I'm a fan of a slow burn, and this is a slow burn. It takes an hour before there's a death in the movie. Right? Well, okay, technically no,
Other
there's a
than the
death right
chicken.
away. Goose, which I had a
Goose.
problem with. That
Aw.
goose would have attacked her well before she could have gotten at it with the pitchfork.
It died off screen though, so
That's true.
That's a plus.
This is true.
And it was totally fake on that stick. Like that,
Oh,
as
yeah.
she was
Oh, yeah.
taking it there, it was the fakest bird I've ever seen.
She goes and feeds it to Theta, her alligator, which
And
quite
you know
possibly
that's on purpose, by the way. Sorry.
what
Go
is the fakeness
The
of the
fake
goose?
goose.
Oh yeah.
Considering what we see later on in the movie that looks like real and that
Mhm.
somebody might be missing on a milk carton somewhere, that goose looked way too fake.
Yeah. I did love that they had the alligator, and because that was something like as soon as I see her walking towards that pond, I'm like, oh right, the alligator, and it's entirely possible it's the same alligator in X.
Mhm.
How long do alligators live?
They can live like
A long time.
80 years,
Oh yeah,
I think, or something like that.
80.
60, 80 years. It's a long time. They
And-
can.
And it got well fed. So
It did. It did.
It was also laying eggs, so you never know. Maybe
But
there's more than one.
yeah, she just from the jump, she's amazing. And then you've got her mother, played by what was her name? Tandy, right?
Tandy something.
She was
Tandy.
the intimacy coordinator on X, and she is a New Zealand-born actor who I want to get a ruling from Bombats on how good she was with her German.
We got it already.
we have it.
All
I
right.
watched
Well,
it with him last night.
so what did he have to say? Because I wasn't
That is
there.
not a German person. To which I said, "You don't know. Maybe she is." And then I was like, "Wait a minute. Why am I arguing with you? You would know."
Yeah, no. I think
but-
she did well for learning it in a short amount of time.
yeah,
but
apparently 3
The main
weeks.
giveaway is, the main giveaway is that she's pronouncing each word separately and talking very slowly.
Mhm.
Kind of like, yeah.
But I read him the trivia, because you know what the trivia says, which made him laugh, because it said that it fooled the two of the German staff people.
Yeah,
And he
I
was
wasn't.
like,
I didn't buy that part of it, but I thought I did buy she was cast and then had 3 weeks to learn it, and the fact that she was able to do that much that quickly is pretty impressive.
yeah, we'll give her that.
I think she could fool non-German people into making you believe she's German.
Mhm.
so that works. But she was great as Ruth, the mom, because that character is also kind of okay. All right, I want to say this.
Unhinged.
She is very unhinged, but I want to say this right now. So this movie is set in 1918, right? So we're in the middle of World War One is going on. The flu pandemic of 1918 is happening right at the same time, which this was written in 2020 during COVID lockdowns. So that kind of makes sense.
Very nice timing.
That. Yeah. How different, Monica, is this movie if either Ruth or Pearl have access to even a decent therapist?
Geez, in 1918 or now? Because
All
a
right.
decent therapist in that time might put Pearl in a sanitarium and cuckoo's nest her.
All right, we'll go
to
with a
health
decent
if you want.
therapist now. What we know now about a lot more stuff. Like, how different is this? Because that was, it's really what it kind of boiled down to was that.
See,
which
I
is
think with
really
proper
fascinating.
therapy, the mother would have been able to learn to deal with what she was stressed out about with the
Mhm.
farm and caring for her husband and crying at night and stuff like that, and getting over some of the. She had like a little bit of jealousy for her daughter, who is younger and still has dreams and all this kind of crap. So I think she could have, but I think that there was always something in Pearl that was not quite right, because I feel like everybody
Yeah.
kind of saw it, well, especially her mom. She even said it. Like, I think that and I'm not saying she couldn't have been okay with maybe some therapy, but I think sometimes, I don't know.
Well,
I think
it's
she was always going to be
interesting,
a killer.
right? But it's interesting to think about because one of my notes was we're all victims of our parents' trauma, and Pearl is
True.
100% a victim of her mother's trauma and what has gone on that's being projected and passed on to her, and she has no way to deal with that. And where her mom focuses it on trying to make Pearl into sort of the image that she wants and do the things and do what's right. Pearl doesn't have that to project onto, and so it's um, you know, she has she talks about it later on, like she wants to get out of here. She wants anything to get her out of here, and every opportunity she has falls apart on her
Yeah.
until she just snaps and has no other way to deal with it but start killing. Very
And that's her personality too, remember that. Because, like,
yeah,
some people, they snap and they would kill themselves. Other people would snap and run away. Her snapping just is more homicidal and therapeutic.
slightly more homicidal. Yeah, yeah. But Ruth as a character is fascinating, and the performance again is great. Like because they give you that moment of her crying at night, it
Yeah, that's
adds
so
so
sad.
much. Oh, it's heartbreaking. And like her blow up at the dinner table was difficult and emotional, and she's laying stuff out there now because this isn't the life she saw for herself either. Pearl talks about not wanting to be the same and not wanting to have the same kind of life. She's like, I didn't want this life and I'm stuck in it and you need to help me with it. I love the line of, I was supposed to be his wife, not his mother, talking about the father who,
That
you
was
know,
hard.
yeah.
Like,
And
with him just sitting there, not able to do anything but
right.
just hear
He, he
what the
can't even
person had
say,
to say.
I'm sitting right here. Like he can't speak at all. So he is sick with some unknown disease. They never say what it is that he
Yeah.
has. And I don't really recognize exactly what it could have been, but he's completely immobile.
Except for his eyes.
Yeah.
And his swallowing, he could swallow a little bit.
Yeah, that was
Yep,
about it.
swallow in his eyes.
Yeah.
Matthew
And
Sunderland,
boy,
by the
can
way.
he act. He could act with those eyes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. I
And
knew when he was terrified, and it was every time Pearl was around. Like
and
the
that,
look when she's like, "I'm gonna clean you. Time to get cleaned up, Daddy." And I'm like, his eyes were like, "Oh shit."
and yeah, he does so much. so much acting with that, and like he's caught in these situations where she's just, I'm just going to take a bath because I don't want to waste the hot water. It's like, well, he's right in the room there.
Mhm.
A little weird,
Oh, so
a
creepy.
little strange. Um,
Real creepy.
and
Oh.
usually a scene, if I set up and kind of explain that a scene is, you know, something like that, the default is to go to, well, the dad is the creepy one, right? Because he's in the room with her while she's bathing. But in this case, he can't leave. She's left him in there. So it's a nice way to turn that whole dynamic on its head. And she's the weird one and the creepy one doing that.
You could have
Is
just turned him to the side.
right.
Like,
Anything.
that's all you had to do.
Yeah, it's not that hard. He's
Ugh.
not going to be able to turn around. So just, you know. But yeah, Matthew Sunderland playing father. He doesn't have a name. He's just father or dad. Just, I mean, in a movie full of amazing performances, his is fantastic with no dialogue and no movement other than his eyes. It's just like you see the fear in him so much. And we don't know what he was like before the disease, but based on what we know about him, poor guy didn't deserve his fate.
Probably not. Although
And
sometimes you can make, like, that's the other thing. Like, whenever something's like not really explained, because like I said, they don't tell you. But then
Mhm.
it's also a time when maybe it was something they didn't know what it was yet. But like they don't tell you, and she's always been kind of like kooky and like killing small animals and stuff,
Yeah,
right? So like, what if she did something to him? That crossed my mind for like a second. Like, there's nothing to support that, but there's
but we
nothing
don't
not to
know.
support.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly. So
It's
As I
curious.
said, we need a prequel to explain all this to us.
well,
In
and that's
1899.
right, but
Child Pearl.
that is one of the things that I really like about this is the ambiguity of it, and not really, like, we know enough to know that no, she's got problems and she's got unresolved issues and this is her way of dealing with them, but we don't know what happened to her or the mom or the dad or any of that previous other than what we're told, and so it makes it that much creepier because we don't know, and we're not spoon fed a reason of, oh, this happened to her as a kid which caused her to do this, which sent her down this road. No, the mom has been scared of her for who knows how long now, and she even admits that. So it's like, okay, no, that's more unsettling. And well done, Ty and Mia, in your writing of this. And then our other main character is David Cornsweet, plays projectionist. He doesn't get a name. He's just the projectionist. By the way, David Cornsweet
I-
is going to be Superman / Clark Kent in the new DC universe. So
Ooh. I'm
Good
sorry.
choice.
Are you saying corn sweat?
that's his name, Corn Sweat.
That's a great name.
And it kind of sounds like corn sweat, but it is Corin.
I mean,
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We're just
But
gonna call him corn sweat.
Corn Sweat. He's great. He's also incredibly good and does a lot of great acting without dialogue. Like, his dialogue is great, his deliveries are wonderful, but when he takes her home, so when she meets him, it's great because I put him down. I gave him a name. I couldn't just call him the projectionist. And I gave him a name based on the fact that when he meets her in the alleyway, right? So she's gone into town to get her dad's medicine, picks that up, and then decides she's going to go watch the pictures. She's going to go watch her movies. And after the movie, she goes out in the alley, and he comes out to have a cigarette, and immediately he's hitting on her, right? And what is he? She says something about wanting to be a dancer, and he's like, "Well, you're pretty enough to be." And I'm like, "Oh, this guy's smooth." He's and so I started calling him Smooth Rupert. And yeah, he's incredibly smooth. He's got her. She doesn't tell him that she's married. And when she comes back to him later,
I'm sorry.
when she comes back later and spends the night with him, and he takes her the next morning back to her farm, and this is after she's killed her parents. all of that work he does back on the farm, that acting is just fantastic. Like as he's slowly figuring out what's going on with her, and just the looks on his face of like, I need to not be here. I need to just anywhere but here. I'm gonna go.
Well, would you look at the time?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah,
well,
I love that. Looking at the watch,
smooth.
just like, I've
Oh,
got to
we don't
be
have a
somewhere.
dog.
Oh, that was so dumb.
That was the worst lying ever.
It was, and I think my note was like, okay, dog lie. Oh, we're already lost in that lie. Like that lie's already been lost. Good work. No, he's like David Cornsweet is great in this, and has a brutal death too, which was well. It wasn't my favorite though. We'll get there, because again, I have thoughts.
His death is impactful, though.
Oh yeah, it is.
Oh yeah.
It is when she is screaming, she emotes so much emotion that it just chills you.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Oh, yeah.
she's screaming at him after she stabs him, and I'm just like,
Well, he was her ticket out of there, and he
Yeah.
no longer wanted anything to do with her,
mhm.
and she lost it.
Yeah, she did.
And I just want to say that, like, the reason, like, she, like, I've liked her since, like, the first time I've seen, Mia Goth or whatever. And that's because, like, I just feel things really deeply, you know?
That's what she says.
I know, that was my joke.
Uh huh.
But I
Yeah,
also
but
do
you're
feel
scaring me
things very
now.
deeply. I really
Yeah.
identified with Pearl. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna have
Run,
to tell you
Dread,
that.
run!
Tread
Yep.
very carefully is all I'll say.
He's a scarecrow.
By the way, his first red flag that projectionist old Rupert there should have bugged out was the pig, the maggot infested
Mhm.
pig on the porch when they left the roast there. I would have seen
It
that and
should
been like,
smell
no.
terrible.
oh yeah.
Can
Same
we
with
yell
the
at the mom?
sister-in-law.
Can we yell at the mom, by the way? She's mad at her for spending 8 cents on candy or movies, whatever.
Mhm.
But she leaves the pig to waste
Yeah.
because
It's a
of
pride.
Because it was from somebody else. Yeah, pride.
Like,
Not-
but that's a whole pig.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. That's a terrible
So
thing.
ridiculous.
And it's not just that it was from somebody else, it was from somebody else who is more well off than she is. And she
Yeah.
doesn't want
But
the charity
also-
of it.
Also, you could have eaten the pig, but she was smarter because she left the pig, and now she could eat the pig plus maggots. Win.
No,
No.
thank you.
No.
Okay.
Technically,
I've tried.
even though they're rich, they're now family. So
Yeah.
I don't understand why you wouldn't just take help from family. Like that shouldn't. Whatever. Anyway, it was still wasteful, and
It
it
was-
just made me mad because she's mad at her for 8 cents, but she won't eat the pig.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Eat the pig.
And
Yeah.
Ruth has there's layers to her issues. Part of it being German immigrants, especially German immigrants in 1918. Like that's a rough time to be a German immigrant in the United States, while World War I is happening. So there's a lot going on there. But yeah, that when he brings her back to the house and there's a rotting pig roast on the front porch, I'd have just been like, all right, I'll see you at the theater sometime. I'm just gonna, you're good, you're home, cool, I'm out. But no, he stuck around, and yeah,
Literally.
yes,
He got stuck. Yeah, multiple
and then,
times.
and then he got Norman Bates right into the pond.
That was my note. Psycho. Because that shot was literally from there.
Yes. Does anyone else remember that car still being there in X, or is it just me?
No, I remember that. Yeah, there was a lot of good
I'm just
little things
I'm
like that.
flashing back. It's I think it's the scene where the husband Howard and Snake Man are looking around.
Yeah, it
Listen
was.
to Gore to know what that means.
No, there was a lot of great little moments like that, and I'm sure when I watch this again, which I will, I'll pick up on more. But even when she goes into the town and she's picking up the medicine, there's a guy wearing the sandwich board walking down the street that says, "Don't live a
Yes.
life you don't deserve." And I was like, that's great. And then she buys, and I noticed too, like the medicine she's got to get for her dad, morphine sulfate. It's like, ooh, what the hell does he have? And then she's drinking it in the theater. So that moment right there tells you so much about Pearl too, as a character. Like she's sneaking some of her dad's morphine, and it does say right on the bottle, "Caution, may be habit forming."
Mm-hmm.
May.
And by May, it's yes.
I forgot my note because you came up with a name for Smooth Rupert or whatever, but I just called him Suspenders McGee with the tiny tie.
Yeah,
Because what was up with that tie? I think it was just tucked in there, right?
it was just tucked in.
What
Yeah,
was it? Okay.
it was tucked in so he didn't get it sucked into the projector.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because back then you had to wear a tie. Everyone wears a tie. So
It's tie.
Ew.
it's a good look though. Suspenders, a little bit of a tighter shirt,
hunky.
sleeves rolled up. He was a good looking dude.
He was basically a bimbo, if you think about it.
Yeah,
He didn't
Himbo.
he's a himbo.
himbo.
I do like him being a bohemian, self-proclaimed bohemian, and Pearl not really understanding what that meant, and that being another callback because of X when Howard gets all annoyed by the last bohemian that came around here. So that was kind of cool. And
Oh, Howard.
yeah, Howard, poor boy. We'll get to Howard in this movie here in a minute. But no, it's just everybody in this was so good, and it's that building up, and then once we hit the 1 hour mark and things change, when she snaps on him in the barn is the point where we turn the corner, and it's like, okay, now we're here, and things are going to get crazy, because we had like the moment with her parents was one, right, where her mom catches on fire, which, by the way, Ruth, quit cleaning your clothing in kerosene. Okay?
Yeah.
Just stop that. Because she went up quick. Like,
Yeah, my thing was, oh, she's okay, she's fine. Oh no, she's not.
No.
But, remember, our clothes are now treated to be more flame resistant or whatnot.
Fair.
Like, I changed the word for you.
But still.
Yeah, I mean, she got put out quickly with boiling water.
That helped.
And corn! I love the way the corn bounced off of her.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was fantastic. I mean, the fire went out. Like, it put the fire out.
It helped.
Just melted the rest of her skin off.
Nah.
So, but yeah, so we had that scene, but it still wasn't quite to that level yet. But then when she has her flip out in the barn, which I captured a little bit of that audio, we'll play it in a bit. And then she stabs Smooth Rupert and puts him in the lake. Again, that gator ate really well. I love, backtracking a little bit, I love the scene where she wheels Dad out to the pier, to the dock.
Mm-hmm.
That was such a good scene.
And Mom stops her.
Yeah.
What you doing? Oh, just talking.
And that mirrors the scene from X when she's on there when she's older and on the pier with Blondie
Yep.
McBoobies or whatever. Can't remember her name.
Yeah.
It was like Bobby Lee something.
Yeah. So, yeah, once things go a bit crazy, and then she cleans everything up. I love she puts on the nice dress. Oh, color too, by the way. So one of the things I noticed right away in this was this is just like bold Technicolor look, widescreen. And one of my first notes on this movie was like, this looks like an old school Hollywood shot on a backlot movie. It gave all the look of that. And I know that's by design. And just like we talked about with X when we did it for Gore, like it was made to look like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre type era of movie. And this was meant to be, and there were a lot of Wizard of Oz parallels anyway, but it was meant to look like that era of movie. And they did such a good job with it. I loved the color. and the saturation of it. The barn is so red, it's ridiculous. And
And they did the same in Maxine with the 80s.
Yeah.
Late 80s look.
Yes, they did.
And the music,
mm,
the
the-
music. You played a little bit earlier when we
I did play a
started?
little bit of it.
Oh
The
my
whole
gosh,
opening
it just,
credits.
like, sweeps.
Yeah, the whole
Just
opening
picks you
credit
up.
sequence, like
It feels
it
so
has.
sweet.
Well, that's the type
Nice
of
mood.
music that would have been in a movie of that
Mhm.
era. Like that music, the credit style,
The
all of
font.
that.
Yeah.
Even the way it was like they would wipe to have the credits show up on the screen and then wipe them away. Like that was right of that era. All of that was so good. But the coloring and the fact that early on in the movie, Pearl is wearing all blues, and when she has her snap after she kills the guy, then she's dressed in all red after that. So you get that
Yeah.
color shift.
Did you get the
She did
Carrie
have pink
vibes,
on
by the way?
first. The pink dress from her mom first.
Well, that was in the very beginning of the movie, yeah.
Hmm. And then all blues, and then red.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Did you
did
get
get
the
some.
Carrie vibes in it though?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, there was
With the
definitely some of
mom
that
and
there.
then freaking out on the stage with the red dress.
And I love the sequence where she goes for the dance audition.
Yeah, her
Because
Let me
face
ask
there is
you.
just so creepy.
uh-huh.
I need to know what you guys think of her dancing. Did you think that was good, or did she do a bad job?
I thought it fit the type of dancing. If you look at the movie that she went and saw, the title of which has escaped my brain, but whatever that
Follies, something.
Paris Follies or something Follies, yeah.
Something like that. Something Follies.
If you look at the
Dances.
dancing of the dance line in that, it was right on that level. That was the type of dancing that she saw. That's what she knew. So I thought it was fine. But it
Yeah.
also felt very real that they're like, yeah, you're not what we're looking for.
Oh,
And then her
Um,
mom popping up, and dad. And
Yep.
so painful.
And
I
then
told you.
and okay, so here's another interesting. So then she's bawling her eyes out, and her sister-in-law Mitzi just says, "Let me take you home." And then we get the movie is already like a 10 out of 10, right? It's a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Like it's already fantastic. And then when she sits down at that table and proceeds to deliver an 8-minute monologue that was a couple of takes stitched together, right? But it's basically one take, 8 minutes. And it is some of the best acting I've ever seen, period. It's so good.
Yeah.
I can't even put to words. Like I was just blown away, and it just kept going. And like to do that, number one, is already impressive, but to emote so much and to give so much into that performance and where it goes. And this was the point where I was like, boy, with a good therapist, her life would have been very, very different because she could have gotten this kind of stuff out in a less homicidal way.
Maybe. Depends on what the therapist said to her afterwards.
But but what it boils down to for her was like she just wanted connection and to feel loved and to get out of where she was, and she never was able to get that. And she's isolated. She's already feeling isolated by her mother.
Mm-hmm.
There's also that like she didn't get enough love from her mommy, but also like there is something wrong with her. She is
Oh, for
missing
sure.
like a key component. Like she's probably like a sociopath, which
Yeah.
isn't necessarily a negative thing. Like especially nowadays and stuff, like it's like we know more about it, and but back it like there's just you just don't know why you don't have the empathy, right?
Yeah, and she has the empathy, but it's almost too much to the point where it kind of becomes numbing for her in a way. but there's also like a lack of it because she, what the thing she says about killing the smaller animals that she would
Yeah.
do was, well, they're small, they can't fight back, and they don't count, they don't feel anything. But
Exactly.
even like she meets Howard and thinks this is her ticket out, right? Because he's got money and he's got all this kind of stuff, and that guy just wanted to be working a farm, and so that was her ticket out. Oh no, that failed, and then he leaves for the war. So now she's alone, and she can't do anything about that. And she's alone on this farm, and you got the pandemic going on. So her mom's like, "Don't talk to people, don't do anything." She can't see anybody, and all of this, and she hates Howard for leaving her to go to the war when he didn't have to. And she hates her mom for what's going on. And I mean, to Howard's credit, like he's wanting to try to make a difference and help in some way or another. Whether it's he doesn't want to use his status as a way to just breeze through life, is the way that I kind of understood it, and that's why he wanted to work on a farm. And he signs up to go to war during World War One, but he leaves her, and he leaves that life and all of this. He would have done a lot more good had he stayed home.
Yes.
Which is sad because technically, because like he didn't use that power to get out of going to the war, and he wanted to go fight for his country. He's obviously, at least in the beginning, a good person.
Sure.
Like he wants to do all the right things, and oh, we know where that leads.
We do, which is an interesting story that I would love to maybe explore. I'd love to have like a
Right?
novelization of what happened
Yes.
between the end of this movie and X. I don't necessarily need it to be a movie or a series, but just give me like the book of their life and whatever the hell happened, because that's got to be way out there. But yeah, it's just like that monologue is so good. And it's funny because as it's going on, you almost forget Mitzi's sitting there because it's so long without ever seeing her. And then it cuts over to her. It cuts to that shot of her, and just the look on her face like, I have made a mistake and I need to leave now. How do I get out of here?
Well, I gotta be going now.
And
Well, would you look at the time?
That's what he said.
I know. She should have done the same.
and as she's leaving, and Pearl's like, well, I'm glad that you got the part. You got the dance thing. And here's my question. And Faye, I'll start with you. And I want to go around and get everybody's opinion. Do you think Mitzi actually did win the audition? Or did she not and then said yes as a way to just get the hell out of there? Thinking that would be, if she just says yes, that's what it was, I can leave. Or do you think she actually got it?
She fit the description of what they were looking for. So,
Correct.
yeah.
So you think she did? Okay. Monica, how about you? How did you read that?
So at first, I thought that she just got it because they had described her.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, when I'm looking back on it, because I watched it again today, and I'm looking at her face, and
Mm-hmm.
there's just something about when she says, I didn't get it, that looked like she was telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And it was throwing me off so bad. And then, so, Dred's watching it too, and I'm just like, look at her face here when she's saying, like, yeah, I did get the part. And he's just like, I think she's just afraid. So I'm still kind of confused, but I feel like there's a possibility
Okay.
in there.
Dred, what do you think?
Well, I think she got it and she didn't want to tell because honestly, the whole lying and telling her she got to get away, she would have to be really dumb to think she would get away with that lie. Like the whole, don't tell me the truth. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Really? Anyone's going to fall for that?
But she's already saying, like, I know you got it. You can just say it.
Right. And that's
No,
my
you
In
thing.
that
just
moment,
say-
I'm like, I will tell you whatever you
right.
want to
No,
hear.
Just
see,
smile and nod and walk away.
but that's the thing right there. So I think personally she was being truthful when she said she did not get she didn't win the audition. And I think that because Pearl they told her we want somebody younger and more blonde. And my note at that moment was like, oh, okay, Mitzi's getting this. But then we don't see any of that. So Pearl has no idea how Mitzi's audition went. Mitzi doesn't talk about it at all. If that girl had won the audition, she was so excited for that and so nervous going into it. She would have been in a much brighter spirit when she came around the corner and saw Pearl crying. And we would have, I feel like you would have seen a change in her body language before walking up to Pearl to say, hey, let me take you home. And we didn't get that. And then when she's getting ready to leave and Pearl's like, well, I'm glad you got the part. I legitimately believe her when she said, I didn't. Because if not, she's a hell of a liar.
Something in her face. Yeah.
But then Pearl's like, don't
Well,
lie to me. Just tell me, I know you got it. And so Pearl already believes that. And when she's got her later on, the end of that scene when she's laying on the ground saying, I'll do whatever you want. I'll tell you whatever you want. That's why I think she just told her that as a way to just get the hell out. Like, I'm with you, Monica. Like, tell you whatever you want just so I can leave. Like, you want to hear that I got the part? Cool. I got the part. I'm gone. She just didn't. She was wearing the wrong shoes is what it ended up happening.
But it's like in the end, it's ambiguity that doesn't hurt anything, but it kind of enriches the story because
Absolutely.
you can take it to different places.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And I like that.
It leaves it up to each person's imagination.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if you read into it as no, she got the part and was flat out lying to her to start, I love that because that works, and it does lead to my favorite kill in this movie, which is when she walks out of the house, and then we get this long shot, and they're doing this with like a crane shot, and she starts to walk away, and Pearl comes outside and just picks up the axe, which we've seen. It's Chekhov's axe. We've seen the axe at the beginning of the movie. And she picks it up, and Mitzi starts to run and start to like pick up her pace a little bit. And Pearl's following
I
her.
will too.
That whole sequence is so well done and so good because
Right.
as soon as she walks outside, how that's going to end. There's no question.
Oh yeah.
She is not surviving this scene. And it just keeps going. It's so good.
That shot is the chills. That is the scene that the first time I watched this movie and I saw that, I was like, oh my god. like that's it. Like I can't even deal with this.
Yeah. Oh.
And it's beautiful.
And then we get the wrap up of it, which is after she does get the axe to her back, and then axe to her front, and then we get like the whole ending with that split screen mirrored thing where she's chopping up the body and feeding it to the gator and like setting up the most demented Norman Rockwell painting you will ever see. Cleaning up
Very
mom.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, by the
Very,
way.
very Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Ooh, did you see that body though? When they did the close up of chopping up the body, you could see like the little hairs on the arm of that body.
Incredible.
They killed that girl. That's all I'm saying. No, that was amazing. It was amazing.
All right, so for me, like I said, my favorite kill is Mitzi getting run down. Dredd, did you have a favorite kill? Was it that one, or did you like one of the other ones a little better?
No, it was that one. Just the whole slowly walking out, slowly picking up the axe, slowly walking, and then just the whole stab in the back and standing over her. It's like, yeah.
And shushing her like she shushes everyone.
Yeah, and then just like the line, yeah, doesn't matter anymore.
I like how she turns it around the line.
Mm-hmm. I may have captured
it's
that
not
one too.
about what I want.
Faye, was that your favorite?
Yeah, followed by the projectionist.
Yeah.
Fair.
Pitchfork projectionist. Oh, we can call him that.
Okay, there you go.
Pitchfork projectionist was the one that was just after the axe. It was so good.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of the same, right? But kind of the same thing where like sort of you know how this is going to end. You know he's not getting out of there, but it's two very different ways to do that same thing, right? Because you don't see her. He walks away and the camera's following him, and then he looks back and she's no longer in the barn. And then, boom, she's on the other side of him and
It's
stabbing him with
almost
the
a jump
pitchfork.
scare, but it's not.
Right.
Yeah. Just
Oh.
a small mention for one thing that's not technically a kill, but exploding Howard. That caught me so off guard. That was like, Jesus Christ.
Same. Like, it came out of nowhere.
Blah.
I wasn't expecting.
Also,
Like, I thought that she picked up the egg, and I'm like, oh, well, now we know where the gator from X came from. Like, that was my thought at that time, was she was gonna like, you know, raise a gator for whatever reason. Like, why not? Makes as much sense as anything else. And then she just crushes the egg, but it's juxtaposed with Howard exploding in her mind as well. It was so good and came out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, never mind. It has nothing to do with X.
I hope nobody, to the question of like your favorite kill in this movie, I hope no one ever says her father, because that was not the best. That was the saddest kill.
It was sad,
That
but it was
like,
also rough because they did it off screen.
it was just
Like,
although Mom was the most prolonged and most excruciating, I'm guessing.
well, yeah, because that took like a day, and
That was
she drags her down into the root cellar, and then later on, Mom's like climbing the stairs, and she just sort of kicks her back down the stairs. And then when we finally get the reveal that she has died, she was trying to climb out the other stairs. Like, it was just, ugh. Both her parents went out in a rough way.
Yeah.
Rough way. But I loved that they did not show the dad like smothering, like it was just done off screen. I think that was more impactful, and I think more, in a weird way,
That
more
was a crime of
respectful.
passion.
Yeah. Well, that was her mercy kill,
Mhm.
right? She was mercifully killing her dad in a way, at least in her, and she can justify it in her mind as that because he's not
I'm
suffering
sorry,
anymore.
but if you're gonna do that for me, can you just like pour all the morphine down my throat? Like, can that be the way?
I mean, that would have been probably the more humane way.
But she wants the morphine for herself. So,
That's true. Yeah, she
Well,
may be habit forming.
Now she has all the house money. She can go buy some more.
But junkies don't think that way.
Hey, can we talk about my favorite scene?
Yes, we can.
Yes. I really enjoyed the scarecrow scene. Because that scarecrow was the
A lot of
creepiest
people
thing I've
did.
ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that scarecrow had a good role. Yeah.
She did.
In the hay.
Ah.
That was the creepiest damn looking scarecrow too.
What was
Like,
up with that face?
I don't know.
And what? Why
Is that
was
what
she
they look
tonguing it? Ew.
I think you can, Monica. You might be able to guess what my note was for that moment where she's tongue kissing the scarecrow. It's a film sack reference.
Oh, what gross got out the most? Yeah.
Yeah.
That or when
yeah.
she lifts up her head crying after losing, and she's got like that big thing
All
of
the
like
snot.
mucus
Yeah.
and snot.
I did like it because when that scene happened, Monica was like, "Oh, what gross got out the most?" And then at exactly that moment, the movie cuts to the pig with the maggots. Like, no.
Yeah, that was rough too. Yeah, that scarecrow was. The funny thing was, is she's riding her bike home, looking like looking like what's her name from Wizard of Oz, and the film frame that she had in her overalls flies out, and so she just goes like to the other side of the cornfield. At one point, I was like, she's already well past anywhere that frame of film could have possibly gone, but sure, why not? No, that was great. I did record some audio from this one. There was some really good stuff in here. Do we want to start with listening to Smooth Rupert, aka David Cornsweat?
Sure.
Because I got a few of his lines. I like this.
It's only one frame. Nobody will notice once I splice it back together.
Nobody
Yeah.
will notice.
My thoughts there was I hope he doesn't meet too many girls because that movie's going to be very short.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh, we didn't talk about the porn. Can we talk
Oh,
about
right.
the porn?
Porn.
Yeah, so he's showing. He's got his private stash.
Underground.
Yeah, this is back when it was
Completely
illegal.
underground videos. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Did
that
you
was a
look it up
real.
that was real?
That was
Yeah.
a real stag movie from 1915.
Yep.
I think.
Apparently one of the oldest or the oldest porn movie to still exist.
Yep.
And I thought that was so cool because if you remember back to when we did Friday the 13th Part 4, there's like they have some old like
Oh,
nudie
yeah.
movie in there.
Yep.
I find those so interesting and like just like thinking about that people were like that back then because you know you only ever see them all buttoned up and covered in
Right. Nope.
You could
I
see
mean-
her
It was,
butt and up.
Yeah.
Going with the porn videos connects it with X again, with the
Yep.
whole reason why they
Yeah.
go to the farm.
Yeah.
it's all about porn.
Also, it was great that they got this greenlit to be made before X came out, and so they apparently initially wanted to make it in black and white. That's how they pitched it, and A24 was like, "No, we don't want to do black and white." So that's when and it was smart to not do that because I think the look and the color of this really
Oh my
helps to
God,
sell it.
yes.
But the fact that they
So many
could,
horror movies,
yeah, well,
right?
and I get why they would have initially pitched it as a black and white, but it works better to be this style for a horror movie. And then they were able to reuse all their sets because they were already there for X. They got done with X, and like 3 or 4 weeks later, they started filming this with mostly the same crew. And so they could
They
just
have
take
to fix
that
up
time
the
to
house, though.
right.
I
Yeah, normally
assume. I don't know. I didn't read that.
No, they did. They
Oh, yeah.
said that a lot of that was like putting fresh wallpaper up and repainting everything, and then they could go. And the house that they were using, the people liked it, so they just kept everything. But they also had to redress like the city street because the city street that they used for that set, they had to bring in dirt to cover up the pavement and remove like parking meters and light poles and stuff like that to make it look like 1918. But yeah, I loved all of that. So all right, so that was Splice. This one, this is more of Projectionist.
I don't let anything stand in your way.
So he says that to Pearl. Don't let anything stand in your way.
And then regrets it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he regretted that one right around the time the pitchfork was going into his chest.
I mean, he wasn't giving bad advice. He
No.
was just giving it to the wrong girl.
Correct. It was not the it was not the person to give that advice to at that time, buddy. Sorry. By the way, I want to give credit to him because I think his Texas accent was really good. Because he's even though he's supposed to be very bohemian and travel around a lot, I thought he had that accent down real well. Because he had some
now that
very
you
Matthew
bring up
McConaughey.
accents, I need to point out that right before this episode that we record, Monica showed me a video of our main actress's real
Oh yeah,
accent and slash voice, and that was the scariest thing I've ever seen or heard.
yeah. Did that?
And now I want to see this movie with her original accent.
I was
that would be hilarious.
I was going to ask if anyone has heard like interviews with Mia Goth because she sounds so different.
Oh, God.
She's like a cartoon character. Like adorable, and I love her voice so much.
Uh-huh.
I'm just
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
like, it is very high-pitched British
Mhm.
voice. And I think she's lovely. I'm not saying anything bad about her.
Also, she
But
does
it is at first you're like, whoa, she is affecting a deeper voice in her movie.
Mhm.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And she also does a very good Texas accent, I think. But I was really impressed with David Cornsweet. He gave me some Matthew. He must have studied some Matthew McConaughey because he had kind of that going on. So here's some more. This is Bohemian.
I'm what more civilized people refer to as bohemian.
Bohemian.
Are all your quotes from him?
No, just had a few of them.
Okay.
This one I think is actually her. Well, it's a combination. It's both of them. This is in the barn.
Did I do something wrong?
No?
Then why did you just go cold on me?
And that's when he knew he messed up.
Oh. Did you get that quote of her calmly explaining to the Scarecrow that she was a betrothed woman?
I did not. I don't think.
That is a chilling moment.
But he did say at one point to her,
Why are you leaving me? What did you say? Why did you change?
You're scaring me, Pearl.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
She
you're
was
scaring me,
scaring
Pearl.
all of
I'm
us.
not- Uh-huh.
She's scary.
It's so good. I just liked her saying this to her dad early on. This is like the first time. This is still the beginning of the movie, so this feels very sweet between them. But after the movie is done, it feels less like that, and that's.
Which means I get to stop by the pictures.
And I like when old time when we would call the movies the pictures. Going to the pictures.
Picture shows.
Going to the moving pictures.
I'm married.
This was Mitzi when Mitzi shows up with her mom to drop off the pig roast, and she's over talking to Pearl. And this exchange, I was like, oh yeah,
All this isolation has been enough to make one mad, hasn't it?
It really has.
We all go a little mad.
Bad sometimes. I was
um,
just thinking.
this was the first moment that projectionist boy should have been realizing I probably don't want to be involved with this girl. When she's sitting talking about kind of her life, and she says,
If only they would just die.
because I love that moment because he's like, pardon?
That's great.
Wait a minute. Could you say that into my good ear? So yeah.
And he
that
takes out
was-
one of those little horns, sticks
Yeah.
to his ear.
I got a few moments. There's a great exchange with Ruth and Pearl.
Why do you hate me, Mama?
Oh no, that's just her asking that. I liked that one. This one.
I only want what's best.
When do I get what I want?
Yeah, Pearl, probably not for at least another 40 minutes of runtime. But you will, don't worry.
Technically, even then, she doesn't get what she wants.
That's true. It's very true. I don't remember these last couple, so we get to find out together.
One day you'll understand that getting what you want isn't what's important. Making the most of what you have is.
That's what it was. So that's a great line. That's a really good line from the mom. Getting what you want is important. Making the most of what you have is. But, Monica, you mentioned this earlier. Pearl turns that around on Mitzi at the end.
It's not about what I want anymore, Mitzi. It's about making the best of what I have.
That is chilling, by the way. Just alone hearing that.
Very chilling. Absolutely. And the last one I have is this.
Well, if it's not me, then I hope it's you. Right?
It has to be me.
Okay. Sure, Pearl.
Yeah.
It has to
You
be
didn't mean to say that out loud, did you? Yes, I
was a
did.
very good exchange.
Oh, I wrote down one of my, like, the way she says one of the lines to her mom is... But there were two lines that I really liked. One of them was, I just don't want to end up like you, is all.
Mm-hmm.
And the
That's-
way it, like, ends with the is all.
Right.
And then the other one is, au revoir, poor Johnny.
Yeah.
Aw.
She is a psychopath at that point.
Big time.
Yeah.
And then the movie ends. So we've had the
Mhm.
8-minute monologue. we've had the insanity of the body dismemberment mirrored shot, little montage right there at the end, and then Howard comes home.
So damn happy.
Tiny, tiny Howard, by the way.
Oh yeah, he's just a little guy. And I mean, he should be happy, right? He's home. He's home to his wife. He's been missing for the entire time that he's been gone, and all this. And he walks in again to the most demented Norman Rockwell painting you will ever see. There's 2 corpses, 3 if you count the pig, rotting on the table, and Pearl's like in the other room, and then we get that haunting final shot. And I love the story behind that because it was written as a freeze frame, and it was going to be her giving that crazy smile and then freeze framing on it. And Ty West decided, let's see what happens and see how long you can go with that. And so it's almost 2 minutes long of her. At one point, you can even see like Mia Goth being like, "Could you just cut?" Like she's starting to lose it a little bit. It's so chilling and frightening, that whole end.
That face staring into your very soul. And I remember the first time, like it stays with you. There's something about this, once again, like just like the movie Smile, like smiling with your mouth, but your eyes are dead.
Yeah, it was the sleepawake smile.
Oh, that too. Yes, perfect.
It was that, but then it became like something else, and it just cycled through so much in that 2 minutes. And the fact that they stayed on it and just kept going. It was like the monologue. I kept waiting for it. I'm like, okay, are we? No, we're still going. We're still doing this. Look at the time. And yeah, it was fantastic. And what a way to end the movie. Like just unreal. And it was horrifying. Claire in the chat is right, because she starts to like just break and lose it, and she's getting shaky, and the tears, because you can't fake like run in and eyedropper some tears in her eyes. Those are real tears that are happening at that point. That was was fantastic. I'm kind of bummed that it took me the better part of 2 years to see this movie. And I do think even if I had seen it before Maxine, I still would like it more. Like, I don't just think it's a recency bias thing. I just think there's something about this particular story that works a little bit better for me. And just an amazing, amazing movie. And of the 3 of them, for me, top spot. And I loved X. I really, really liked X and what it went through. There's something about this one that just takes it to a different level. So I'm glad you mentioned this and then reminded me that you had mentioned this.
Constantly.
Yes.
Constantly. I was dropping little hints like, we'll do this for the show. We'll do this. We'll do this. And then we get to do this again on Gore at some point in the future year or so.
So I get to gush about it all over again. But yeah, that was Pearl. Pearl from 2022 from Ty West and Mia Goth. And boy, it is a lot. It is unsettling. It is creepy as all hell, and it is damn good. So definitely give that a watch if you are into, as long as, you can handle horror movies, and slow burn horror movies at that. Bear that in mind. But I like those.
Yeah.
So works for me.
This isn't as slow burn as a lot of the other ones. This at least gives you things.
Well, I mean, it took an hour to get there, right? I feel like some people, because I've heard like a lot, most people love this movie, but I've heard some people say it's like boring and slow and stuff, and I'm just like, really? Like, it gets there.
I can give you some
I like
movies that
we
are
get
very slow burns.
Yeah.
At least in this one, we get the immediate. The goose gets it.
Oh God, really? Like that's enough for you?
I mean,
it's a start.
Exploding Howard is earlier as well.
But it's one of those.
Happening.
This is how you do a slow burn, though, and And I think too, and we've talked about this quite a bit. Like we talked last week about how VHS was about 20 minutes too long, and they could have cut one of the stories and brought it down to like an hour 40. This is an hour and 42 minutes, and the pacing on it is perfect. It didn't need to
That's
be
what I
longer.
thought too. I'm telling you, I think some people just don't like slow burn and they don't realize it. So then they end up calling a movie like this not, you know,
Mm-hmm.
not.
I feel like they could have easily added 20 more minutes of her smiling and
Yeah.
staring at us.
I
at the
would have
end.
still been watching it. I would have been like, can that be my ghoul log for the season? Like it's just her face,
Yeah, there you
like
go.
smiling. Repeat.
And add another 10 minutes onto her monologue. That I still can't get over how good that monologue was. Like as good, her performance was already so good, and that just cherry on top. It was amazing. So we're still in October, and we're going to keep going. But this time around, I believe, Monica, you are the one that has not seen our next movie. Because we're going to stick with creepy, but we're going to go back a few decades to 1976. We're going to watch The Omen.
Oh yeah. I have not seen this. I have seen one scene repeatedly.
Everyone's seen that scene.
This is for you,
For
Damien.
obvious, how did they do that reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love special effects and stuff. But other than that, no, I have not. Oh, I guess I have seen that other scene with the lady because that's another GIF.
Yeah. But
anyway, but yeah. Excited.
But yeah, 1976's The Omen, directed by Richard Donner, who would go on to do Superman and Lethal Weapon. So,
how much of a slow burn is this movie?
Well, we'll find out in a week.
70s.
Yeah, we'll find out, and we'll talk about it then. But that is going to be our next movie, The Omen. But we're doing this gore takeover. So for the one person that's listening to this that hasn't made the connection yet, tell people about GORE.
So GORE is a horror podcast with me, Wicked, Monica, whatever the hell you want to call me, Travis, Faye, and Dread, and we specifically talk about horror. Whereas here it's like any kind of movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you like horror, you should go on to gorepodcast.com, check out our show, find our episodes, find out the other stuff that we're up to, and the whatnot.
Absolutely.
Because it's cool.
We have a lot of fun doing that, and I've seen some stuff that I never would have watched that has been really good, and really most of it I would watch again. Most. Yeah.
Except that one.
Except that one.
So for that ghost chicken.
But we also do, we do fun little sketches. We talk about more than just movies too. We talk about books and games and stuff that we're doing and playing and reading and all that kind of stuff. So it's super fun.
We talk about ourselves.
We do.
We get all personal.
You get to know us. It's a lot of fun. So
sorry.
gorepodcast.com. Check that out. If you enjoy watching this happen live, this show, you can hang out Sunday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time at twitch.tv/tvstravis or youtube.com/@tvstravis and check out the live stream. It does come out as a podcast Wednesdays, anywhere you get your podcast, including on YouTube. And you can always go to my website, which is tvstravis.com, and find links to this show, to GORE. There's a link over to the GORE podcast website there, other shows that I work on, and my Patreon, patreon.com/WYHS, and merch and all of that. So anything revolving around my shows and or GORE, you can find at tvstravis.com and gorepodcast.com. So we appreciate all of you checking those out. So yeah, next week is The Omen. I'm excited because I haven't watched this in a while, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. Who of the four of us have seen the first Omen that came out earlier this year? I know, Faye, you and I went and saw it. Dread or Monica, did either of you see the first Omen?
I waited because I hadn't seen this, and I was like, oh, I should probably see this. Not that it matters, probably, but you know how I like continuity.
I do.
So I waited.
Okay. And Dread, you also have waited then?
Yes, she makes me wait.
Okay, that's fair.
I did not make you wait.
I just completely forgot about that movie, honestly. I'm sorry.
Well, we'll have to talk about that one at some point. But next week will be the OG, The Omen. I can't wait. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Until then, just remember to, enjoy your movies. It's spooky month. Enjoy something scary, and be excellent to each other. It's been Wait You Haven't Seen.
What are you doing in here, Mr. Goose?
Ah.